Imagine that for a second year in a row in the back half of the season. The Edmonton Oilers are figuring it out on the back end and in the goaltending department. Friends, it's pretty crazy to see what the Oilers have been able to achieve over the past, well, 6 game win streak here, and we'll dive into it in a matter of moments. But before we get there, this is Dolany TV. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the channel as we get set to break down what has been an absolute big change for the Oilers over the course of the past 6 games, more or less the course of 2023 so far, as they look like a completely different team despite blips from earlier in the season showing up, but not sinking them in the past several games. Friends, before that, we have housekeeping notes to get to. You see right here the old animation that just popped up conveniently. Definitely, if you're enjoying tonight's video, let me know, leave a like, but more importantly, to those of you that are just joining me for the first time or you've been around for a little while, I'd love to have you hit subscribe here on the channel. It just kind of one extra thing, you find my videos by the home feature on your channel or you search them out. Just if you hit that subscribe button, they get sent to you a little bit more dynamically by YouTube than how you are currently finding them. So if you'd currently like to get that, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button. Anyway, we've hit that minute half mark of the video, which is where I'm trying to shut up more and get to the point. So the Oilers, where are we sitting? Well, defense and goaltending, we're talking about what is looking like here in this back half, a team that either looks different from the team we've watched in the first half, or to some people's credit of watching the Oilers, they look like a team that has figured it out, right? We haven't made that big defensive trade. We haven't traded out any pieces up front, but all in all our complaints from the first 41 games of the season suddenly are starting to sift out and actually work in our favor as people are contributing and stepping up and down the lineup. Whether you want to say that's because of the 6 games Vinny Desharnais has played, the 11-7, the depth scoring coming up, whatever you want to say, Jack Campbell figuring it out, there's a ton of factors here that have gotten the Edmonton Oilers back into the top 3 in the Pacific Division for the time being. The Oilers are comfortably there within the wild card for the time being, right? 2 points, 2 wins up on Colorado, Calgary for the final division spot. And I mean, if Calgary continues to kind of lose steam here as the back half of the season comes along, you would factor in that Colorado and LA are the only teams you have to worry about in the wild card race. I mean, Nashville's 7 points behind you, St. Louis is 8, and then Vancouver is a solid 18 behind you. So the West is really down at this point, and I think will come down to a total of 6 teams, so the top 3 in each division, and then a total of 5 teams in the wild card. So the West is, at this point, January 22nd, 2023, down to a race of 11 teams, with obviously one of those 2 teams here about to eliminate themselves, I'm sure, by mid-February, come the trade deadline sometime in there. So for the Oilers, right, you're on a 6-game winning streak, and suddenly, right, this is the insane part, the Seattle Kraken have a goal differential of plus 22. The Vegas Golden Knights have a goal differential of plus 20. The Oilers, having scored 178 goals this season, as well as the Kraken, sitting here with a goal differential of plus 22. Obviously, the goals against and goals for are different for all of these teams involved, but the Oilers have 156 goals against. But let me read you the goals against in the past 5 games specifically. 7-1 win against San Jose, so 1. 3 against Vegas, 2 against Seattle, 3 against Tampa, and 2 against Vancouver. So that is 5, 7, 10, 11 total in your past 5 games. You're giving up 2.2 goals against per game. And I don't know how much Dolany TV you've watched over the course of the years. You've heard me talk about before the Oilers winning hockey games because they're giving up less than 2.5 goals per game. And obviously, what does that do? That really starts trending down your goals against per game, your goals against in general, and just allow you to, as we're seeing, rack up more wins. And that is large in part due to the Oilers giving up fewer chances, playing steadier defense, having a 7th guy out there on the defense, but this is no ordinary 7th guy. This is a guy that is clearing the crease. He's big, mean, strong, and tough in front of the net. He answers the bell to the degree the bell needs to be answered in front of the net for this Oilers team, and obviously that is reflected in Vinny Desharnais' ice time and his deployment within the game. The Oilers now giving up 3.25 goals against per game. Well, you know what? That's not stellar, right? You look at the Vegas Golden Knights, who are allowing 2.87, and you would say, yeah, there's a reason the Oilers have just barely clawed back into the top three despite scoring all the goals they have. But for the Oilers, you look at the separation here, 155 divided by 47 for the Golden Knights. They're only scoring 3.3 goals per game, whereas the Oilers so far are up there scoring 3.71. So you're looking at a differential, just call it even numbers, of about 0.45, almost zero point 0.5 of a goal per game. The Oilers are scoring above goals they're letting in. And for the Vegas Golden Knights, you're allowing 2.87 goals against. So what did I say? 155 divided by 47 is 3.29. So you're looking at a difference there of what? About about 42. So in the range, but the Oilers are starting to build that edge to their game where, yes, the goals for are starting to, plus minus wise, heavily outweigh the goals against, right? For the Oilers, yes, obviously that 7-1 San Jose game ends up factoring heavily into that discussion. But think about this too. You're now pulling out 1-goal victories against the league or division leading Vegas Golden Knights. Sorry, misspoke again there. You're pulling out a 3-goal victory over top of the only team ahead of you behind Vegas in the Seattle Kraken. You're pulling out a 2-goal margin against the defending 3-time Stanley Cup finalists Tampa Bay Lightning, and you're pulling out a 4-2 win against a team that is on the cusp of being the last relevant team in the wild card talks. And obviously, I think Vancouver's now fully out of it and have been for the past week, but many fans would say just include them in there in case, right? So you're talking about pulling out over the past several games, all but one in the past 5 and all but one in the past 6 have been a 1-goal game. Yes, the empty netters obviously changed the fact that it was realistically a 1-goal game, but now not only in that discussion are you getting good defense that's clamping down, letting up fewer goals against by limiting the chances, and when they do screw up, now all of a sudden you've got goaltending from both Jack Campbell and Stuart Skinner that is allowing you to stay in the game and stay ahead in the game. And I think a large part in this is I made mention of the Oilers' depth scoring. I've made a whole video about how the fighting and how the hitting and how the standing up for teammates changed this team. But this video is more or less the ramifications of when you do the little things right, the big things happen. And you look at it, right? The depth scoring now showing up for the Oilers. But what's happening is any given night over the past 6-game win streak, it seems like the Oilers start up 2-0 every single game, it would seem, right? It's kind of factored out that way. That Tampa Bay Lightning game, I don't know if that was necessarily the case, but for the Oilers, you're starting out and you're getting ahead. You're building leads. You're having leads late in games. You're not having to come back from behind. You're getting the job done early enough that all you have to do is win. That's literally what the Oilers have been tasked with. And so when you have to win a game, that develops a game that kind of self-creates reliable defense, sustainable goaltending, and responsible hockey with margins, right? And I mean, it doesn't matter if it's 2-goal margin, 3-goal margin, 1-goal margin. The Oilers have been able to handle whatever they have late into games, manage it by deploying the right guys in the right situation because those guys are now available to be deployed in the right situation, and come out every game, game in, game out, with the same recipe for success. And that has been the biggest change in the Oilers over this 6-game win streak, is they're doing the little things right, they're doing the big things right, and when things go wrong, they're not dying because of it in terms of the win-loss column because of everything else is still going right in the game. So that's a huge gift for the Oilers, right? A couple of weeks ago, we were staring down the prospect of, man, like there is an actual legit shot this Oilers team misses the playoffs. Now you look at this, and I know I've been kind of clowned around in the comments section on a couple of videos, and it doesn't really bother me, but it kind of does go to prove exactly their point, is yes, winning changes everything. At the end of the day, I don't care how it happens. When I'm complaining about losing and complaining about not enough being done to win, if we start winning, of course I'm going to enjoy the winning. And that's where we're at, right? The Oilers have kind of put together some kind of weird formula here that took the parts that we all complained about all first half of the season, smash them together, and suddenly we have results. We have 6-game winning streak in the middle of January against teams that, I'm sorry, you either A, needed to win against, or we're going to be a tough opponent to get a win against, and you've done everything with an A+ flying colors, because even in a game like Vancouver, where there were a lot of glaring errors to allow it to get to 3-2, you still pulled off a victory in a game that meant more to Vancouver than the points did to Edmonton. And you still came in there and spoiled the send-off, I guess you could say. That Tampa Bay game, right? Tampa Bay gets the theatrics going. They play that playoff brand of hockey. They're trying to wear you down, just beat you up, and just play Tampa Bay winning championship hockey, and you still come out ahead by 2 goals at the end of the game. Vegas, right? You think about Vegas, that was a matchup of what I will call the top tier teams in the Pacific Division. I do not at all think I was incorrect saying the biggest threat to the first place spot at the end of the season in the Pacific Division, when I said it, is the Edmonton Oilers. Because at the end of the day is, you know what, Seattle can stay in the hunt, Vegas can maintain their position, but the only team out of anyone else in the division looking to take that crown away from them and knock them well out of it is the Edmonton Oilers, right? So that's where I'm sitting here looking at it, and it's like, man, it's all coming together. Winning's changing everything for the Oilers. The outlook of the season is great, but it's because those little things that we talked about, right? The fight for your teammates, make your checks hard, stand up when somebody gets pushed around, and have each other's backs have led to now you're playing responsible defense, you're getting good goaltending, everybody's towing in the same direction, and what does that come up with? That is multi-goal leads, that is winning games late when it's tight, and it's coming away with a 6-game win streak on a streak that I think going in, right? If you would have said after that LA game, and this is exactly kind of to pick my own brain here and more or less argue with and against myself, is if you would have said at the end of that LA game, you know what? The Oilers, no problem. This next 6 games in a row, we're going to walk away with it. We're going to be talking about how good this team is after these 6 games. And guess what? The kicker is, too. We're going to win all 6 of them. Right? Obviously, if we would have said that after the Islanders game going into LA, Anaheim, and San Jose, we would have said after that Islanders game, man, we play like this, we're going to go on a 4 or 5 game winning streak potentially if we can beat the Kraken. But no, or I guess Vegas, but no, instead it came down to, man, we just lost a tough game against LA, who's ahead of us in the standings, and now we got to try and get ahead against 2 games you can't lose, which the Oilers are famous for losing, and then try and come away with wins against Vegas, wins against Seattle, and finish it off with Vancouver. And somehow, some way here, right, you go from that LA Kings game where the schedule was going to get tougher for the next few to now you're past the 6-game tough stretch and you've come away with 6 straight wins, and you're going into the likes of Columbus, Dallas, Chicago here in the next several games. Well, I'm sorry, right, is now everything that we worried about but kind of saw take shape in between LA and Anaheim. So LA, the first loss that snapped the New York streak and started the next streak when we won against Anaheim. Those 2 big few lessons we took against LA and Anaheim, and we've now parlayed it into 6 straight victories with a weaker schedule coming up, is, yeah, no doubt the Oilers have figured it out. The Oilers have made it happen. And this is why. You take care of the little things, you start fighting for your teammates, and the big things come into picture, they start figuring it out, and you come up with the results. At the end of the day, for the Oilers, I'm still not sure what I'm titling this video. I'll come up with something snappy, don't you worry. But thank you for tuning in to 14 and a half minutes of rambling about how the Oilers have put together a 6-game win streak in my mind. And I really didn't touch on Stu and Jack because it just doesn't come down to goaltending when you know the goaltending was going to figure it out all along. It came down to the rest of the team doing everything to give the goaltending the best chance. It's a plus that the goaltending has done what they've done, but everything else has fallen into place as well. Friends, I'm Tyson, this is Stolony TV. Thank you so much for tuning in this evening. It's the late night Sunday edition of just blabbering along about nothing, but hey, you know what? Tonight's not a night to be critical. Tonight's a night to enjoy a 6-game winning streak for the next couple of days. Friends, if you're new to the channel, I hope you enjoyed this tester video. I'd love to have you along. Consider hitting that subscribe button, and I will catch you later.